This is big, what you're saying. What you're saying basically is we need to start viewing our disagreements, our arguments, our fights, not as something that is negative. Why are we arguing again? But something that's an opportunity for us.
It's an opportunity. It certainly
grow.
doesn't feel like an opportunity.
Sure.
It feels like, here we go again.
Yep.
But it's an opportunity for growth if we allow it to be.
Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Rod.
And this is Kai.
And welcome to
Married in the Middle.
We have been married for 18 years. We have 4 amazing kids and a dog named Appa.
This podcast is about helping marriages flourish through the challenges of the middle years.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Rod.
I'm Kai.
And welcome to
Married in the Middle.
Man, our mission in this podcast is designed to bring helpful content and resources for people dealing with the challenges of being married in the middle. By middle, we think roughly 7 to 25 years of marriage, where it becomes hard and arduous, and seasons are changing and stuff like that. And so we wanted to provide authentic, honest, and hopeful communication that meets you where you are. And so that's the point of this podcast. So happy to be here with you.
That's right. Like, subscribe, share, all that stuff.
Yeah, check out all our Linktree stuff. We're still figuring that stuff out. But, man, we just want to be a blessed man. We got a goal to help as many marriages as possible. I know that God's called us to this mission. And, man, we want you to support and follow and all that good stuff. So, yeah.
Amen. So what are we talking about today?
Man, today we're talking about they don't listen, though.
They don't listen. Talking about.
But I listen.
Talking about disagreement.
I don't be listening.
Arguing, heated fellowship. So the topic is they don't listen.
They don't listen.
Because oftentimes that's just how we feel, and we can become kind of numb.
Yeah.
When it comes to
Absolutely.
having to invest in working through things, because we just feel like they don't listen.
They don't listen though. The women don't be listening though. Okay, no, I'm not gonna do that.
Really?
Now I want to talk to the brothers, man. Brothers, do y'all feel that? Do y'all feel like, man, I've tried to talk to my wife about this and that. I've mentioned this to her. Man, I talk to brothers that says, man, I've been trying to get her to understand this for so many years. She ain't listening. She's doing what she wants to do, or she's not taking into consideration how I feel. So brothers, what we do is we say, why bother? I'll just shut down. I'll just stop talking. I'll do what I need to do. I'll pay bills. I'll go to work. I'll come home. But why open up? Why keep opening up when I feel like every time I share, it doesn't get through?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't get through.
I think for women, we can become that way as well. Kind of like go into our own world where we learn to kind of just function independently.
Yeah.
of our spouse, because we feel like, he doesn't hear me. He doesn't value what I say. I have told him this 150 million times.
Yeah.
Or he cuts me down, or he shuts me out. He shuts down, and there's not, like, I can't get through to him. And we feel discouraged because we just feel like there's no point, because I can't get what I'm trying to say or my heart across to this man, or he just won't do what I say.
Yeah. and so we build walls.
Mm-hmm.
We build walls, and then the house just becomes quiet. Or maybe he or she is sleeping in separate rooms. It's we vouch for what's easiest. How do I get through the day without that argument, without that tension, without fighting? Or how do I ease around certain subjects? Because I know when I bring that subject up,
it's going to blow up. Yeah. And it can almost become, anything it can get to the point where anything we bring up is going to blow up. And I think
why is that?
Just because it's like a trigger. It's like that's not the main thing. So it could be the way you put the cup in the sink, and it's really not about the way you put the cup in the sink. It's about how I felt like you were demeaning, or that you didn't value what I said, my opinion, or I just feel like I wasn't supported in something. And so, I think the danger of not going for it, not saying, all right, we're going to do this, we're going to work through this, is that you could actually fool yourselves into thinking that you're okay.
Yeah.
Like, well, we're good because we haven't argued in this amount of time.
Yeah.
You know,
because you've mastered trying to navigate the certain topics.
Yep. You're just trying to get through today.
I think that those are like two stages. One stage is I'm going to keep the peace. I'm going to navigate around certain subjects and so that we don't fight. The other piece is the offense has gotten so difficult. We're talking about putting that cup in the sink the wrong way, or he's leaving his shoes by the door again. Everything is infected.
Right.
And so how I see this woman is affected. How she sees me is affected. And nothing will be good enough no matter what they do. And I think this is where couples get into the point where it's like, well, why try then?
What's the point? Yeah. What's the point?
Why? Let me just. I'll cruise until the kids graduate high school. I'll cruise until, we pay off our debt, and then we can split in a way. You start doing math you start calculating how to divorce.
Start making plans for a future divorce. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's where that.
Or you can become professional at just living in the same house, but two separate lives.
Yeah.
You got your life, I got mine. And, and you have a couple who's just completely independent of one another.
Or you start building relationships outside of the marriage. And sometimes those relationships are not always sexual. They could be. Sometimes they're emotional or intellectual. You start practicing doing the work of communication with the wrong individual. Because you're going to communicate, whether you're communicating to your friends, girl, I can't stand him. You guess what he did is you can roll off, or you communicate with the brothers, man, bro, I don't know when I'm going home tonight. We just go hang. So you're going to communicate. You're going to do the work anyway. You're going to communicate with your kids. God's made us to communicate.
Right.
But the way Satan comes in is he tries to tear up that communication between husband and spouse.
Yeah. Yeah. So our goal, I think this is a very sensitive topic.
Yeah.
And it's very real because it's so challenging, especially when there are so many other factors that play in to our lives. But our goal today is to really remove the facade that we see on Instagram and on Facebook. You see all of the family photos, especially, the holidays just passed and everybody has it. We had our family photo too.
Yeah.
They don't see all the before of getting prepared for that photo, but they see that cute family picture.
Pics.
And I think that, we can look at that and even though we know it's not real, we can feel like everyone else is doing well except for us, because we see that happy family on social media. But we're removing that facade. We just want to expose that, first of all, disagreement and arguing is natural.
Yeah.
Because we're two individuals. You're an individual, and yes, we are one in the sight of God, but we still have our own past. We have different things that play into who we are, and we're different people. And so we want to remove that facade. Arguments and disagreements are natural, and it's healthy because it provides an opportunity for growth. It provides an opportunity for us to show grace to the other person, for us to become more like Christ, right?
This is big, what you're saying. What you're saying basically is we need to start viewing our disagreements, our arguments, our fights, not as something that is negative. Why are we arguing again? But something that's an opportunity for us.
It's an opportunity. It certainly doesn't feel like an opportunity.
Sure.
It feels like, here we go again. Yep. But it's an opportunity for growth if we allow it to be.
So I think that's big. I think we grew up in a culture where when we see people fighting, or maybe your kids see you in a disagreement, and y'all are like, go upstairs or go play with your brother because we fighting right now, and I don't want you to see that because fighting is bad. When it could be an opportunity for you to maybe come back after that adult conversation and say, hey, me and Dad had a conversation. We had a disagreement. Here's what we disagreed about. if it's appropriate, and then here's how we are resolving it, so that we're discipling our children to understand disagreements are going to happen.
Yeah.
Because they're natural. And let me give you some tools, because you're going to disagree with somebody one day too.
That's right. And sometimes it can get a little bit ugly. We've had to go back to our kids and
I'm sorry,
apologize to our kids if it got real heated. But the kids, they're funny. They're funny little creatures, because if they hear what's going on, or they can sense what's going on, or they're a part of what's going on, the little jokers, they've already kind of pick their sides, and they have their points.
Well, don't they always pick the same side though?
They do. They usually pick me.
Oh goodness, it's true.
Oh goodness. Okay. Yeah. So that's what we want to debunk, that image, or even just I don't know where that comes from, that we feel like we are arguing, so something is wrong with our marriage, or maybe we weren't supposed to get married, or know.
I think the trick of the enemy is to make it seem like anytime there's tension, this isn't working. I think when we reverse that and we acknowledge the reason why it's so hard for us to get along is because we're sinners.
Right.
And the minute we can admit that we're a sinner, then I need saving, and I need a savior, and we have a great savior. His name is Jesus. It's a way of him to etch out Christ being at the center and us worshiping him together, and instead turning on each other and fighting each other. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's important to admit, I think this is a good process. I'm a mess.
Yeah.
I'm messed up. I'm selfish. I'm hard to get along with. Saying these things helps us create space in our relationship for Jesus.
It allows us to be vulnerable with God, because we're reminded that we're always in desperate need of him. Mm-hmm. Like we don't have it all together, and we don't have to be right all the time. Sometimes I drop the ball. I think that's easier for you to admit. Mm-hmm. I know that you're the chief of all sinners, but occasionally, every now and then, when there's a blunder in my life, it's the blunder. It's a lot harder for me to admit to that. I just want to say too, so there are variations of this, like how much, how often, and what the issues are that you may have disagreements about or arguments about. It will vary from couple to couple. So maybe you look at one couple, you think, well, they don't argue as much. Doesn't mean that they don't, but there are different dynamics, personality, different, a lot of things make up like how often a couple gets into arguments, because we know some people that really they kind of have a good flow. And a lot of it is a part of their personality, or maybe their dynamics. Chances are a family that has 5 kids, the proclivity to argue is probably higher than a family with 1 kid or 2 kids. That's just an example. It doesn't have to be that way, but there are a lot of factors at play. So different dynamics. We don't want people to feel like, well, this isn't for me, because we don't really argue that much.
Right. That's good.
And so it's a good tool overall. But if there's a couple, whenever someone says to us, we don't argue at all, or we never have disagreements, it's either that couple is outright lying for whatever reason. Maybe they don't want people to understand or to know what's going on in their home. Or even scarier, they're lying to themselves. Someone is not being honest. If there are never any disagreements, and it just seems like it's always smooth sailing, someone is holding back their frustrations, and it's dangerous, because a seed of bitterness can be planted.
I think there are couples, I want to give space to this, it's important, that has hit a stride and things are just really, really good.
Yeah.
And you're watching this so that you can stay on that stride.
Yeah.
I want to applaud that. Yeah. Praise God for that.
Lavish.
Praise God in that. What I do want to say though is, you won't always be the same people. And so what happens when that person evolves or that person changes? Right. And I think that's a little bit of what you're going to get to.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think, they say, realization, is it realization? Awareness, sorry. They say awareness is key. Being aware, if that's you, if you say we are just kind of smooth sailing, you might want to kind of go back and reevaluate, like take a deeper look to see, are there some things that I'm holding back that I'm not expressing because I just want things to go smooth because it feels right. And I feel that I think probably the first 7-8 years, especially the first 5 years of our marriage, that was me. And because I just want to keep it moving, like I'm a pretty flexible person, and I'm accommodating by nature. Like I just want everything to be well. You know, I just want us to be happy. Like I don't want us to argue. And so there were some things that I didn't like, or that I didn't appreciate, or that I felt that I didn't that didn't feel right to me, and I would just absorb it. I would absorb it for the sake of peace. We're going to the beach today. We're going to have peace. And when he was sharp, when he said that to me, or when he ignored this, when I said this to him, or when he cut me off or disregarded this, but you know what?
That's enough examples, baby. You kind of went in on them
those
examples.
ain't real examples. You know what? We're going to have a good day though. And I'll absorb it. Or even if I sense that you were not in a good mood, I felt like it was something that I could control. If I could just, let me make this food for our family, or let me do this, or I try to move the pieces around to try to manipulate the situation so that everything can run smoothly. When really it wasn't something that was wrong with me. It wasn't something that I was doing wrong per se. It was something that I just wanted to, I wanted to absorb it. And I think after a while it built and built and built and built.
That's good.
And then I think at one point, probably around 5 years, I just hit a wall.
Now, mind you, the first 5 years, I didn't know
he had
that
no
this
idea.
was happening. And so I'm like, okay, she cool, I'm cool. We roll.
Because I would say you have a stronger personality. Your personality is stronger than mine. And so that sometimes I was swallowed up in that. And I had to find my voice. I had to learn to find my voice when I hit that wall, because we change over the years. And so who I was at 21, by the time I'm 26, I start to realize like something is wrong. And I realize that it's because I'm not sharing with you my frustration or my whole heart or what I'm dealing with. And I think you were shocked.
I was shocked.
You were like, who the heck is this girl? Who are you and what did you do with my wife?
Because she came in hard. And I think some of my initial reactions was, this ain't the woman I married. Like she would just come in hard. She would say, I'm not doing that. I'm like, okay. Like that's, right. It took me time, and this is where this evolution of conversation happens. It took me time to address who this new Kai was becoming. And I would say you've evolved even 2
more,
or 3 times after that.
2 or 3.
We might be in the middle of an evolution now. I think about it.
I think we might be in the middle of another evolution.
And but I think so. So the communication styles have to change.
Yeah.
I needed at that age, 29, to be more softer with her. I needed to give more space for her to speak. I needed to say, "Are you sure?" Because before it's like, okay, we go, no, are you sure that's what it is? And because you're always evolving, I'm still learning. I'm still learning.
And I had to be bold because I'm not really confrontational by nature. Like I don't like drama or arguing. But I had to learn this is a good moment for me to speak up. And really it's helping your development as well. It's helping my development, and it was helping your development as well, because then we would later go on to plant a church where you're working with people and with strong personalities. I think it's important to understand that sometimes strong personalities can bulldoze over others, unintentionally,
and not even think
think that you're doing it, and that was important for me too,
and
to
so
learn to find my voice.
At that point, even as we were planting and leading, she would see it, and say you didn't consider that person when you said that. And so because she's learned it, she's able to speak into leadership stuff as well. So that's good.
Good.
Hey, what's up? We hope you are enjoying that episode. I want to encourage you to like, comment, share, subscribe. If you are listening to this on the podcast, I want to encourage you to leave a review.
Leave a review, yes, and we want to let you guys know that we're trying to build a community of members. So we have a Patreon page where you could interact with us on a more personal level. You can get exclusive content. So if you want to know more about our Patreon page, check out the description box below and click on that link. So enjoy the episode.
Peace. So, I mean, getting back to what does that mean for us when we're in confrontation, where we're arguing, where we're fighting, if we use that term. And the first thing I want to say is every fight, every argument, every disagreement, it may not be the time to have that argument. I was talking to a couple, and one of the one person just started saying, you know what? I don't want this anymore. This marriage is done. I was like, whoa, let's wait. Let's not use that language now. Let's not use that now. Let's take some time to think about that. And let's talk about that next week, because terminal language can be really, really devastating, particularly to a man, because man almost like switches in their head. So once they hear it, so that's what we're doing now. And so let's pause and let's punt, or I'm having trouble in our finances, and so you know what? We need to hash all this out right now, because I went to the store and my car didn't work, and we need to talk about it right now. Maybe you're so emotionally charged over the shame of that happening that maybe we need to punt on this conversation and handle that at different times. What I'm trying to say in short, we can have this conversation at a different time. Maybe right now's not the right time.
Yeah, or even the right environment. Sometimes it's a group of friends over, and maybe your spouse does something that offends you, or even says something that's disrespectful in front of people, and you know it feels in the moment like I'm going to let this person know this, or I'm going to give this person a piece of my mind, or we're going to hash it out. It's built up so much to the point where the environment no longer matters. You guys could be out at dinner with your family in a restaurant full of people, and you're going to hash it out. And so sometimes taking into consideration even where you are, you know, if it's a toxic situation, it's healthy for our kids to see us disagree, but if it's a toxic situation, that might not be a conversation that you need to have in front of your kids. You know, if you feel like the volume is raised all the way up, and you know that can be something that you want to consider as well.
Right. No, I think that's good. I want to be careful with that. Or maybe they said something that hit a trigger for you, and you're like, you know, you're about to go off with no way of stopping it. You're gonna come from their, you're gonna go for their throat. It may be a good time for you to just walk away and say, we're going to talk about this later. I'd rather you deal with the offense of someone saying, I need a break, than you having such of a violent, harsh, mean-spirited, toxic conversation with no guardrails, and emotions are high, and you want to get even.
Right.
I'd rather the person be offended that they walked away from the conversation. And what you can say there is, we'll talk about this later. So this
promise to return.
Yeah, this whole first point is, man, is this the right setting for this conversation?
Yeah, and that's important, because you really want fruit. You want change. You want something to happen. And if it's just a bad moment, sometimes it can be a great opportunity for some real breakthrough in your marriage, or in a situation that you've been praying for, or have been dealing with for a long time. But it may not be the right moment. And I think that you guys need to make that okay. It's okay for us to not have this, and for us to be intentional about returning to the conversation at a better time. that's not 3 weeks later. You know,
or 3 months later.
Intentionality means, all right, can we do this later tonight? But sometimes just blowing off some of that steam, taking time to let those emotions, simmer down a little bit, the conversation can be a lot more fruitful when there's not so much fire behind.
Or I'm tired and I'm right about to fall asleep, and now you want to have a 3-hour conversation. Right. Like it's being wise on when those things happen. Okay, we talked about putting the ball down the field, promise to return. Let's talk about it later. What happens when we are in the fight? And the way I want to frame this is, this isn't we had a little spat and we need to talk about it. This is hard stuff. And so the first thing I want to say is, when you are discussing hard things, you want to remember, here's the fuel to get you through the conversation, how God treated you when you messed up, when you fell, when you had a shortcoming. How did the Lord treat you in that? Was he spiteful? Was he mean-spirited? Did he cut you off? Did he abandon you? Or was he gracious with you? Was he kind with you? If this person has offended you, if your spouse has offended you, that's what I want at the forefront of your mind. How did God treat me? How did he handle me when I messed up? How did he come to me? Was his arms folded or was his arms open? Was he impatient or was he patient? How did God treat me in the midst of my shortcomings? And that needs to happen some moment, sometime, before you engage in this hard conversation. For those that follow Jesus, would call yourself a Christian, man, take some time and consider how God treated you.
So this is hard. This is hard work. I think even we're in a season right now where communication is challenging, and we're finding that we have to grind more often. That is kind of the ebbs and flows of life. Sometimes, like you were saying earlier, it's smooth and sometimes it's not, but it's really hard work. It's hard to constantly have to say something that you've said to a person already. You've expressed something, and you just feel like by now they should understand. Yeah. And sometimes we can feel like they know, they just don't care. That's kind of a resolve that people have.
Is that good to believe?
No, it's not. It's not a good thought because it's assuming a person's motive and intent. I remember having like an aha moment, a come to Jesus moment, where I just said, if he says he doesn't understand something, even if I explained it, or if he says he didn't know that I wanted him to do something, even though I've said it so many times, I have to let go.
Your sister girl came out a little bit.
A little bit.
Even though I told that head went this way, and then
I have to be able to let go of all of the stories I'm building in my head, and all of the things that I feel like the enemy is feeding me, and I'm just like, he doesn't care. He did that because of this. You don't have the right to assume someone's motive and intent. And if the person says they didn't understand or they didn't know, I have to trust and I have to find the patience to explain it again.
Yeah. I think that's good. I think another piece in there is you don't know what it will take for that person to change.
Yeah.
Season 2 is going to talk about how we change and we evolve and we grow in marriage. It's going to be centered around how people change. But I think we think, well, I said it, you should have changed by now. That's not how change works. And if we remember, going back to what I said earlier, how God was gracious, not just with you when you offend them, but the slow process of you changing into who he's calling you to be, this process of sanctification that does not end until we stop breathing or Jesus comes back.
Right.
And so he's always working on us. And so in marriage, you're always trying to grow into the person that God's called you to be and that your spouse needs you to be.
Mm-hmm.
But that is a slower process than many of us think. And so we get frustrated when stuff doesn't happen because we think change happens instantaneously.
And we don't have the power to change the other person.
Talk about
Sis,
it.
let me just say that again. You don't have the power to change that person. God is using you as a tool to influence that person's life, but really God is the one that is doing the work in him. It's going to take the power of God and oftentimes time for that person to mature. And meanwhile, God is growing them, but he's also using that to form you into his image as well. And so
what if someone says, but my husband's not saved, he's not a Christian?
You know, it goes back to us being that witness.
Yeah.
Us being that witness and remembering that ultimately our walk is not for ourselves or for that other person, but our lives we live our lives and do things as unto God.
Yeah.
And so if you're there, first of all, that's really hard. That's really challenging because the value system is different and the accountability is different. When someone is not accountable to anyone,
right.
And you're accountable to something that's higher than yourself and beyond you, that's a difficult walk. So just want to encourage you, first of all, just know that we understand that that's hard for you. But to, you put one foot in front of the other and, you ask God for the strength to continue on and to live out your values.
So, man, I think what we're saying in short is, man, it's worth the conversation. This is hard work. This is labor intensive, but your children will thank you. Your grandchildren will thank you. The legacy that we're trying to build will speak for itself when we continue to do the hard work of communication. So say it again. I said it. Say it again.
Say it again.
I'm tired of saying it. Say it again.
Yeah.
Speak it again. Say it again. I think for brothers and sisters, not for those that are listening to the spouse say it, listen well. Listen objectively. Yeah, Rodney, but when I listen, they say something that hits me the wrong way, or they say something that they take a jab at me when they're talking. And like, I know that happens, but try to fight through and listen objectively, not at the jab. We so quick to hear the jab that we miss the point. We so quick to hear the slick thing they say. Oh, I heard that slick thing again. And we miss the major thrust of what they're trying to communicate. And so listen objectively. Listen to what that brother's saying. Listen to what that sister's saying. Listen objectively. Ask questions. Make sure you understand. Listen so that you can get the heartbeat of what that person is really trying to communicate, because you want to understand. You don't just want to hear them. You want to understand.
Yeah, I think even for the person who is speaking, you have to ask yourself, like, do you want to be right or do you want fruit? You want fruit out of the situation. So it's important to think about that, which is why we kind of talked about taking the time. And in that time, I think it's even good for you to pray. Pray before you start that conversation to ask the Lord to help your face, help your tone, and to help the words that you say. I think it's easy and it feels good to take those jabs. Yeah. It feels good to name call, and it's just not effective. Like it doesn't, like, how is that working out? Yeah. When when your sass is at the level 100, sis, and you going in, right? You go off, sis, you going off. How is that actually working? Is he receiving that? Like, is he actually taking that in? So yeah, you blew off some steam, but maybe that steam should have been blown off with a sister in Christ who can just hear you and take that and not feel the pain of what you're actually saying. And maybe you needed to calm down before you went to him, and just went off. And so I think how we say things, it matters. For the person who's listening, yes, we want to be able to hear the heart of what they're saying, and not so much think of how they're saying it, because we want to be able to hear our spouse's heart. But man, for the person who is speaking, know that tone matters. It matters. It automatically, I know for me, tone the walls go up immediately for me when if your tone is off, if you're coming at me strong and not in a more gentle manner or just straightforward, the walls go up automatically. And so you want to consider, how am I actually saying this? What is my face? What's my body language? And I know some things are cultural when we may move our hands, but you want to consider, how is my spouse receiving that? And if you don't know, ask them.
Yeah.
How can I communicate with you more effectively? And maybe they say, well, you yell a lot. What? I don't yell a lot. You call me names, and I just shut down from there. And it's not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah. And I think 1 Peter 3 talks about husbands dwelling with your wife according to knowledge. It's understanding who they are. So if you're communicating in a way that causes the walls to build up, but you don't regard her walls, you just say, well, you need to listen to what I'm saying. That is a fruitless conversation. And so it does well for you to say, man, hold on, pause. Did I offend you? Repent. Let's get that right. And then let's come back and have the conversation. Here's what I'm trying to communicate. And not just not getting upset that someone got upset about what you did.
Right.
But don't
and
get
so
upset.
Now here, the real discussion is here, but there are all these little micro arguments in between, because you said this like that, and then I did this, and before you know it, we don't even know what we're arguing about.
I think taking the posture of a servant and just saying, how do you need to hear this? And accommodating that, because I want to serve her, because I love her. I want to serve her because she loves me. She wants to serve me. I think puts us in a posture to understand, I need to communicate this in the way this person gets it, because that's the point of the relationship.
Yeah, I'm listening, and I'm just like, man, this is all good stuff. I think my faith in God is what reminds me that that I'm broken, and that I'm broken, and that I'm a sinner as well, because I have to think of something beyond myself. Right. If I'm just thinking about myself, and we're very good at that. Yeah. We can convince ourselves of a lot, that we can convince ourselves that we're right. We can convince ourselves that the other person is wrong. But it's really my own accountability to God that gives me the fuel to go and get it right. Especially if I want to be petty, if I'm in my mode where I want to be petty, and I'm not listening because I'm in my mind, you're talking to me, and in my mind, I'm just building my next argument, or I'm just seeing the next point, or I'm trying to find, I could be real petty, y'all, trying to find the fault in the sentence so that I could call him on that. Sometimes keep
snitching on yourself. Keep going. You're doing good.
If we're real petty, sometimes we'll take out a pad.
You talking about me now? She talking about me.
Or in our phone.
No, just want to make a quick note. Go ahead.
Hold that right there real quick, and then you're taking notes. What is this?
Hold on, write that down. Go ahead.
What is this? You ever say something like that?
Oh man!
Oh my goodness!
Man, we'll be 20 years married.
Okay.
Joking. In June we'll be 19 years.
We're 18, going on 19 years.
But it's 19 years. We're still learning this. Yeah. This is the joy of being married, that you're still stumbling your way.
Doesn't always feel like joy,
right?
But man, if you could make it past that, I think that's part of the motivation is knowing that going through the fire refines you, and it refines your marriage as well, and it bonds you closer together, and then that person on a deeper level, and your love is deeper for that person because you made it through something that's hard. That's our doorbell.
Listen, man, we're thankful for you guys. Appreciate you guys. Man, we want to encourage you to like, subscribe. If you think somebody would benefit from this content, man, I want to encourage you, like, subscribe, share this information, look at our Linktree page, all that good stuff. Anyway, we'll talk to you guys soon. See you when I see ya.
Bye.
Peace.